It's time for Stump the Chump! Put your hands together for Chris Hostetter!
Hello, and welcome to Stump the Chump. I am the Chump. I am Haas. Unfortunately, I don't have to stand up here by myself. So I'd like to introduce our moderator and our panel. First off, Cassandra, please come on up. Woo! Yeah, pause, more pause. Woo! Shalyn, Ansham, Mark Miller, please come on up. These are our judges who will be judging me, not you. Take it away.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming. So those of you, this is your first time here, this is how this works. Questions have been submitted by you. I've been getting emails for the last few weeks. So I've selected some and Haas will try to answer them as we go through them. And at the end, our judges will try to pick the winner. We're actually
who has stumped me the most?
Right.
The winner.
The winner is who has stumped him the most. So we're also going to try to do audience questions. So I think I'm going to do like a couple from email and then go to an audience question. We have microphones on either side here. So if you have a question you'd like to try to stump him with, there'll be a chance to do that. If the people who do stump Haas, the first prize, $100 Amazon gift card.
That's right.
Then second prize, $50. Third prize, $25.
We're nothing if not predictable.
Yeah. I was actually thinking maybe we need to bump those up.
Oh, that's true. Inflation is kind of...
Inflation.
Prices are not nearly as impressive as they were 5 years ago. That's true. That's a good point. All right.
We'll talk to them about that.
Yeah, I'll have to talk to my boss about raising my expense limit. I wonder what she'll think.
I guess it was my idea. So
it was
I
your
talk to my
idea,
boss.
so yeah. All right, well, we'll talk to somebody.
Yeah, all right. All right, so let's start. First question. This is from someone who did not have the opportunity to be here to see our friend Toke. So I don't know if you have, how many stumps would a chump trump if a frump trump could stumps?
I don't even know what 3 of those words are.
He assured me that all of them are words.
I'm sure, yes, Toke would know. I'm going to guess 4. Panel members, do you, it should be on. Is it not on? What, you're trying to turn it off? No, am I right or am I wrong?
I think even if you turn it off, they can still turn it on over there.
Yeah, so sucks to be you. All right. Do we have a real one now?
We have a real question now.
Woo!
All right.
All right. Eric Erickson's blog post. I have to read these because I haven't seen these. I don't know if that was obvious for you to not.
Yeah, that's right. Haas has not seen
this is not. This is not me stalling. I'll tell you when I'm stalling. Eric Erickson's blog post on commits at Solar Cloud says, upon soft commit, the segment caches related to function queries and sort caches are not invalidated. Does this mean sorting and function queries will not be accurate? Apparently, Eric Erickson doesn't remember saying that, which is good because I don't remember Eric Erickson saying that. I mean, part of the confusion might be that there is a extremely annoying distinction in Solar between a soft commit and open searcher. You can do a soft commit without opening a searcher, although I don't know why you would. And that may be where the ambiguity or the confusion is coming from. If you open a searcher, which happens by default on a soft commit, then the caches will be invalidated. That's the best I can come up with for what he might have been talking about. Mark Miller? Give him the mic. Eric Erickson's just saying flat out, this is wrong. Either Ansham or Mark Miller should say something now.
One, I don't think Eric ever said that. But really, to your answer, there's no way to say open searcher equals false with a soft commit.
Really?
Yeah.
You
there's
can
no
say
option.
it just doesn't do anything, you're saying?
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, all right. You could definitely say open searcher equals false.
But it doesn't matter. So basically, those caches are going to be invalidated.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you sure you can't say open search
Yeah.
equals false on a soft commit?
Yes.
Because I remember opening a bug saying this is moronic.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't promise that. I want to look at the code, but I believe answer them. But there'd be no reason to do that
Right.
anyway, which is probably why you
Yeah.
can't.
But I remember creating the matrix and saying this one doesn't make any sense. This one doesn't make any sense. Like that bug still exists. It's
But-
marked.
but
it's
it
marked
sounds
fix
like-
for 4.10 if I remember right.
The question is probably wrong. I doubt Eric Erickson's blog says
Yeah.
that.
No, I agree. I agree. All right. Invalid. Moving on. Eric Erickson agrees that we should all disagree that Eric
All right.
Erickson didn't say that.
Okay.
And if he did say it, he will be fixing it around 9 p.m. tonight on his laptop at the bar.
All right. Next question.
Our business requirement is to provide suggestions based on certain criteria. So I'm still getting into the flow of this, and it's really weird that it's down there and not up there. As suggest handler doesn't take filter queries, we're using a facet approach using copy field and a facet prefix. Doc values are enabled for the facet field. Due to increase in index size, suggestions are taking a very long time. Indexing rate is high and near real time. Is there an option to apply filter queries for suggestions without building a separate index for suggestions? I'm not sure why suggestions would be taking a long time due to an increase in index size. That's the part where I'm getting hung up on for a second. I mean, so the first thing that jumps out at me is that this kind of feels like a little bit of a XY problem. I'm kind of wondering what the goal is, right? So if we're providing suggestions based on criteria, what are those criteria and what is the objective with the filter queries? Because I also, if I remember right, the suggester has options you can turn on to say don't suggest something unless there's a match, and there are parameters that can go there. So I'm not 100% convinced that you can't also provide a filter when you're asking for suggestions. And by the looks of things, nobody on the stage is going to disagree with me on that. So I think I'm kind of safe in getting away with saying that there's probably a way to do that. But I don't know why the doc values enabled for the facet field would make things slower in that case. Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have any better answers to this? I'm assuming not.
I think the suggester, at least in Lucene, has an option to filter, but
Right.
I'm not quite sure if it's exposed in Solar.
Well, I don't know if that particular, there's a very low level part which allows you to do this. I don't know if anybody's actually written the code to hook into that, but I do remember there is I don't even know how to describe it. There is an option in Solar where when you use the suggester, you can make sure it won't suggest things that won't have matches based on the other properties of your query. And I thought that that's where filters come into play. So I'm pretty sure you can still, with that option, say, don't suggest something to me unless it matches the other constraints of my query, including filters. I'm concerned that I think that, but this question says it's not. But then again, the last question said something, and Eric Erickson's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So I'm not sure if I'm being punked or if I just don't remember how this works. Yeah, is the person who asked this here? No? Yes? Wait.
Sri.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want, we have a mic in the thing. If you
There's a
want to come
mic
up
right
here,
there.
right up here. Are you sure? Sorry, what was your name?
Yeah, my name's Sri.
Shri?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry. Are you sure you can't use?
We tried actually. We tried trying to see if there is any filters we can apply for suggestions. Not. So that's why we had to go to facet query to really apply the filters.
Huh. Am I thinking of the spell checker? Is that because there's a difference between those two? Maybe that's it. So I guess one thing I would think about is before you go to a completely separate index, technically there's two frameworks in Solar for kind of suggesting things. One is the spell checker and one is the suggester. And before we had the actual true suggester, we had the spell checker, which people would use for suggestions. That framework, that may be where I'm remembering an option that says, don't give me a spell check suggestion unless it also matches my filter queries. So I would suggest maybe trying that before you jump whole into a new index.
Okay.
But if that doesn't work, then I think building a separate index may be your best bet.
Okay.
But again, there's a lot of things about your question that make me want to talk to you later, like why doc values are making your suggestions take a very long time. Because that doesn't really jive for me. So
It's just a lot of data in each document, and our facet query is spanning across a lot of fields for suggestion.
Okay. I don't know. Do you guys have any more suggestions for this? No?
No.
You're so awake, so lively. This is your time zone, Miller. You have nothing to complain about. There's no jet lag here.
This is pretty animated for Mark. actually.
Well, that's okay. That's fair. Yeah. Give him the mic. Give him the mic. Yeah.
I don't know suggestions.
All right. Good. So I don't feel bad. Really, this isn't can you stump me. This is can you stump me and then have them go ha ha ha. I know this one. And if they don't go ha ha ha, I know this one. Then I don't feel bad about it at all. All right. That's the best I got for you.
Eric's waving his hand again.
No. Oh, okay. See, Eric Erickson over there. Talk to him afterwards so that I don't have to figure it out. He'll figure it out for you. No. We're not going back. We're not going
Does your
back.
blog actually say that?
I don't even want to go forward. You want me to go back? No. Moving on. All right. No. I don't want to know. This isn't Stump Eric Erickson. If you want to get up here and do this, then that's fine. But I'm not. No. All right. Audience question.
All right.
Oh,
Does
crap.
anyone in the
now
audience
Eric
have a
Erickson's going to
question?
walk up to a mic.
Yeah, right.
If we, sorry, we have 2 mics. If people have questions and they didn't get a chance to submit them, hopefully if they're short questions, because we won't have them on slides, so we'll have to make sure people
Yeah.
can hear them. But if anybody has a question and wants to step up to a mic, feel free.
Particularly if you just sent your question in like an hour ago.
Oh, yeah.
That was
That's
a bit
no
of
good.
a cutoff as I had to prepare.
Yeah. No? We
Nope.
have a shy group today. Oh, here we go.
There we go.
Here's somebody. There's always
He's gonna get a
somebody.
book.
There's yeah.
I get a
For
book?
being a brave soul, come get a copy of Solar in Action when you're done asking your question.
Will do.
Unless I
might
think it's
be
really
signed.
terrible, in which case I'll
Might be
take it
signed by
back.
the Rockstar authors.
It
there.
might be? Really?
So this is not my direct question, but from one of my tenants. We have a tenant who wanted to have an obscene number of fields in their collection. What would be the maximum number of fields that Solar supports?
I mean, obscenity is a very vague term. It means different things to different people. How do you, give me an order of magnitude.
Sure. Their original suggestion was to have 100 million fields. When I told
I would,
when I told them that was unacceptable, they
Yeah.
came back and
The
reworked
fact
it
that you're
at
laughing
10
should tell
billion.
you something.
I have a pretty high tolerance for obscenity, but I agree, that's obscene. I agree, that's an obscene number of fields.
They also reworked it so that they'd have 10 billion. So that
that-
somehow is better.
Yeah, I somehow don't feel better. Quick show of hands, who here knows what I mean when I say an XY problem? Anybody? Okay. An XY problem, for those of you who didn't raise your hand and actually don't know what it means, not just that your hands are full or you don't like raising your hand. An XY problem is when you say, I need help with X, and I say, what? Back up, because there's some Y somewhere that is what we really need to be talking about. I cannot think of a better XY problem than, do you think it'd be wrong if I had 10 billion fields in my index? Because the answer is not yes. The answer is, I don't even like the fact that you asked me that question. I feel dirty right now.
My question was, what's the maximum number of fields? Because
Right, sure, fair enough. But that's not as funny as what I wanted to talk about. Yeah, so the maximum number of fields, that's a good question. I have practically seen many thousands. I don't know if I've personally seen over 10,000, but I've seen many thousands and I've seen it work. What matters usually isn't how many fields you have, it's how you use them. When you get up to 10 billion, just the fact that you have them is probably a problem.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know what would happen if you tried to have that many fields in an index and open it. I'm sure somewhere something would go terribly wrong.
we've had tens of thousands before.
Yeah,
on some
I
of
mean,
our
I would
collections.
be pretty confident that for most things, tens of thousands of fields, particularly if you're just talking about, I mean, if you're talking about stored fields, it's probably not going to matter. When you start talking about indexed fields, I would think tens of thousands, you're okay, as long as, I mean, the size of the terms is probably a bigger issue, but searchable fields, particularly when they're very sparse and not a lot of documents have every field, that's the use case I've seen a lot of, then yeah, I would be fairly confident that, like you say, tens of thousands you could get away with. As soon as you start wanting to sort on them, though, it's like, are you really going to sort on 10,000 fields? Like, that's a lot of either doc values, data structures, or field cache, or uninverted fields. As soon as you try to do anything non-trivial with them, I would think your upper limit is in the lower thousands, not the tens of thousands. But I don't know that I could tell you where there's a hard limit on productivity. I would definitely say you're solving the wrong problem if you have to ask that question.
And that's exactly what we told them.
What's that?
That's exactly what we told them.
Yeah, no,
Solar
that's
was the wrong
absolutely what you
technology
should
for
tell
what
them.
they're doing.
So, yeah. Any follow-up comments? Does anybody know of an actual hard limit someplace?
Yeah, no, I think that's the problem, that people don't know. They're not testing for it. They're not designing to Lucene or Solar to make sure that it can handle tens of thousands of fields. So if you're doing it, like, you're getting lucky for a while maybe, and then you're going to hit random performance issues. And since it's just not something the project prioritizes, if you can do anything else, it's probably better.
Well, I mean, what people are testing for is number of terms, right? Number of documents. We're trying to make sure those numbers scale in the whatever dimension you want to call that. The width of the documents in terms of the number of fields is not something anyone has tested enough to be confident to give an answer, to be honest. I can only say what I've seen. And what I've seen is even with older versions of slower, buggier Lucene and Solar, I've seen several thousands. So, but thanks. Come get your non-signed book, and somewhere around here is someone who will sign it for you. Or they're not.
Okay.
We already have an audience
I have another
question.
question over here. If
Yeah, well, we
Sure.
can do that,
somebody's
yeah.
waiting. Is somebody waiting over there?
Oh,
Oh,
there's
no,
no one
no.
over there.
All right.
Oh, no.
Oh, was there? Did you want to go up?
No.
Okay.
What?
I'll give that mic a chance first.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have a question for, we use Solar J in our installation, and when a query is sent from the client to the Solar sends response time back, right? In the response object, you also send the response time, number of milliseconds that it took for the query to be processed. Now, Solar J also has, some kind of a timestamp where, how long it took for the request. Most of the times, these two, stats actually are in sync, but many of the other times I have seen these stats are actually different. So my question is, when is that Solar response time is actually written? Is it really reliable that stat? Is it really reliable where do we really have the time that it takes for the query to be processed, or is there something else going on?
Yeah, okay. So for people who didn't get it, the core of the question is that Solar, as part of processing, returns back what we call a queue time, right?
Yeah, queue
that's a queue time that comes back from every Solar response. And then separate from that, in SolarJ, which is the Java library, there is, I believe the term is get elapsed time off the query result object. And the question is, sometimes they're very close and sometimes they're very different, and why? So the core crux of the question is that queue time is a very historic number that goes back to Solar 1.0. Queue time is really just measuring the core processing time of the search before a single byte is written back to the client. Okay? So what's not included in queue time is any network overhead for writing the response back, but also because Solar defers a lot of reading of things like stored fields, what's not included there is any sort of access of stored fields. If they were needed for an earlier part of the request for some reason, which I'll hand wavy say there's some cases where they might have been read earlier and they might be included in the queue time, but for like a basic search, just getting back the stored fields isn't included in that queue time. So there might even be some disreads, there might be some latency there. But then also all of the time spent serializing that over the wire, either in Java bin or XML or JSON, all that serialization time isn't taken into account, and any network overhead, any network lag going back to the client isn't there. On the SolarJ side, get elapsed time is truly what it says. It's the elapsed time from the moment it started the request to the moment it finished. So it's everything that's in the queue time plus all the time the client spent reading the data off the wire, parsing the data, building up the object that you get back in the response. So when they're very close, that's very good. That means you have very low overhead. When there's a significant difference, that either means you have high network overhead or you have like an I/O overhead for reading the stored fields. The one other case where it can be a little hinky is just by the nature of the architecture, doc transformers, which is where you put something in the FL, in the field list, which has to be computed. That isn't evaluated until the response writer starts writing the results, I believe. I'm pretty sure. They don't know. So if you have a very intensive doc transformer that has to do a lot of computation, that, if I'm not mistaken, is not included in the queue time. So you could see a queue time of 10 milliseconds, but an elapsed time of 5 minutes if one of your doc transformers sleeps for 4.5 minutes.
Okay.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yes. Cool.
Cool.
Thanks.
Awesome. Nailed that one.
Dang. All right. So we're going to go back to a couple of email questions. We'll have another chance for some audience questions coming up.
All right. Everyone, this is going to be quiet.
There's a lot of detail in this question.
This is quiet read to yourself time.
Want me to read it to you?
No. This is, okay, so for the record, I'm not actually thinking about the question right now. I'm thinking about the talk I'm going to have with Cassandra tomorrow about how she could have pruned out a lot of verbiage. Like, we've been beta testing a new Solar Search application, Solar version 5.4. That could have just been Solar 5.4 :
I would have had to read it.
What?
No, just kidding.
3 million documents, similar content in terms of vocabulary. Solar Cloud, 4 nodes, 48 gigs of RAM, don't care. The index is 12 gigs. How many? Oh, 3 million documents, 12 gigs. Okay. I am assured it is memory mapped. Well, there's your first problem. You're assured of something. That's never a good sign. That means somebody's, yeah. Okay. We use NRT caching. Okay. Currently, our average queue times in Solar are between 2 and 3 seconds. Jesus. Why isn't these queries faceted on 3 large text fields in bold so that we could have just moved on?
It's not bold. Oh.
And this response is about half the query execution. Many different configuration tweaks, blah, 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 blah. No Solar config changes made a huge impact. We currently do not shard servers due to some outdated client libraries. Receives for some resistance as there's large. Is sharding a must for scaling the collection of this size? 100 of the most common query terms occur in at least 100 million times. Oh, wow. Given me, what is your recommendation for improving search performance? Okay, who here can spot the X in this XY problem? Anybody? Anybody? I'll give you a hint. I said it should have been in bold. These queries facet on 3 large text fields. The first thing I want to know is why you're faceting on 3 large text fields. That's not to say that you can't. That's not to say that there's never a point for that. But it is a red flag to me to ask what the hell's going on. One thing that could speed that up is to try and prune those large text fields at index time. Try to distill them down just to the terms that matter the most. Like stop wording, for example, is great. Just having the list of we never want to see these in this facet. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it's for. We don't really have a good description of the use case here. But assuming it's English text, just common English stop words getting stripped out of these fields might help speed up some of the faceting there. Sharding is also probably going to help you in this case, largely just because of the parallelization, being able to split your index. Sorry, we're at the end of day 1. Most people should know what sharding means, right? Who doesn't know what sharding means? Raise your hand or I won't tell you. Okay. All right, screw it. No, you don't get to know. You don't get to know, Tomas. No. No, really. Does anybody want me to explain sharding? Because I will, because it's cool. Okay, so people understand sharding. All right, so the nice thing about sharding in this situation in particular is it's not so much, one, yes, you have a lot of documents. It might make sense to split them up and to parallelize some of the work, just from a search standpoint. But the faceting alone is a good idea. When you've got a request that this slow, being able to split the index up and do some more parallelization of processing is probably going to help, I would think. It wouldn't hurt, I can't think of it. Once you're this big and this slow, I can't imagine it would hurt. I want to go back to this last. 100 of the most common terms in the document occur at least 1 million times or more, and these are almost always the terms that are commonly searched upon. Given the documents use such a similar vocabulary, could this have a serious impact on the search performance? Yeah, it can impact the search performance, but I don't know that there's anything wrong with that, right? I mean, if people search for common things, they search for common things. The more you can cache, the better. If you know that those 100 are always going to be there, then in theory, those requests should be fast most of the time. And if they're not, I don't know why they wouldn't be. I don't know. So other than pruning out noise terms in the text fields and sharding, do you guys have any other suggestions for this question?
Yeah, I mean, first, of course, pruning out. If you're going to have something hit 1 million times out of your 3 million documents, and that is like costing you all your performance, then why not take that out? Maybe there's reasons for having it. But in general, like when you're faced with this and you're just, I get this question a lot, like here are all these various scenarios, what's wrong, how do I make it faster? And there's no way to know. So like the first thing I would do is hook up like a bunch of monitoring and say like, is there a lot of GC issues? Is there a lot of RAM issues? Is there a lot of CPU issue? Where exactly is the problem? Then hook up a profiler that does like sampling or something and see actually where all the CPU time is spent. And then you can pinpoint like, okay, what is the exact issue and what do I have to work around? In this case, like we just have to guess what is causing the slowdown. Yeah, and it also would be interesting to know why they're faceting on large text fields.
Yeah. Well, and I think you may have misread part of this. I mean, it's not, I don't think they're complaining about these 100 terms. I think they're saying, oh, like many of their queries are for these 100 terms.
Right,
So,
but my guess, if there's anything causing the huge performance slowdown, it's probably this kind of like huge
Yeah,
common
maybe.
terms would be my guess. I wouldn't expect things to be that slow. Otherwise, it's only 3 million documents.
Yeah. Well, I would also worry about this like zero auto warm. I would think if you know that most of your queries are the exact same 100 queries, an auto warm of 100 might not be the worst thing in the world, so that those are all in your cache.
I mean, they're doing like a 10-minute NRT reopen, so like auto warming shouldn't even play, like in that 10 minutes, it's not even going to play a part, right? Like,
That's what I'm saying, so why not do it?
Yeah. So yeah, they're probably like tuning something that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's necessarily helping them to try to fight auto warming. If they're
Right.
only
So you're
10
agreeing with me
minutes.
that auto warming zero queries
Yeah.
is a bad idea in
Yeah.
this case.
They're
Yes, okay.
probably thinking it's helping and just
Yeah,
doing it.
I think that's probably hurting you. Why do you keep giving him the mic?
Because it is resetting.
Anship's in the middle. Anship should hold the mic.
He doesn't have a bottle of beer, so.
That's true. So you should sit in the middle is what should happen. Or you should pick up a beer. I don't care. Either one. All right. Oh, what? No. Sorry. The comment was that if a term's appearing in 1 out of every 3 documents, that's a pretty bad search term. Which kind of goes back to Miller and I. Like, well, then don't you want to cache that? Like, why is that a good search term? Like, that almost seems like something that should be a stop word. And if you detect someone types it into your search box, you should redirect them to a static page. Honestly, like,
They could probably also use the common terms filter to
yeah, well, that's what I say. Something
to reduce
like
the
you
terms
should,
in that particular field.
It's not clear to me if the 3 large text fields that are being faceted on are the same field that has these 100 common terms that people are searching for, because there's multiple permutations of this option. But I'm reminded of some blog post I read about cancer.org wanting to like improve their search, and they're like, the most common search term we get is cancer. Well, yeah, but like, what? I mean. How do you tune that, right? Like every freaking thing on your site mentions, like what? That's not something that you solve with relevancy tuning. That's something you solve with JavaScript saying, yep, they did it again. Let's take them to a landing page. I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of problems that aren't IR problems. They're usability problems and they're use case problems. And I don't know enough about this use case to know if that would make sense, but I would agree with, I can't really see, I think that was Ted.
Yeah, that's Ted.
Yeah, so I would agree that if a term appears in 1 in 3 documents, or 3 million in some cases, in every document, and it's a common search term, you don't solve that by more efficient search. You solve that by changing your UI to work around search and just give people a flat page.
If this user though had hooked up a profiler and saw where all the hot time was, it's probably sitting in some place where you could give us that stack trace, and all of a sudden we would know exactly what the bottleneck is and could suggest something else.
Yes, send a
Right now,
stack
we just have
trace to
guess.
solaruser at
I mean, you could even say
lucene.apache.org.
like it's in this class, and you can make a really good guess about what's happening. Whereas here we have to be like, okay, what of the 100 variables is causing the slowdown on a small index? I have no idea.
Yeah.
So I asked the question.
Okay.
Oh, this is your question.
So
Oh,
sorry.
no.
Sorry.
You're fine.
So those terms are not ones we can remove. Like these are profiles, so we can't take out terms like Java because people search for Java, so we can't
Right.
just stop with them.
Right. But so this is like a social profile where a lot of people have a lot of the same word, and yet that's also a very common thing people search for.
It's a set of resumes, so we can't
Yeah.
just have a static
Yeah.
landing page because they have to be up to date.
Well, you don't have to have a set of landing pages, but you could, at index build time, recognize that some traits are so common, you shouldn't just put them in the same big text field as all the uncommon stuff. You could actually extract out and say, like, hey, this is, anecdotal like example of a similar problem is how Twitter deals with Justin Bieber, right? Like Justin Bieber's tweets, like they have their own server, like they know that's like they don't just let it go through the normal flow and get, they treat that as special. If you have terms that people want and people are searching for and they're popular, but they appear in 1 in 3 or 1 in 1 of every document in your index, making that its own field and recognizing on input that this is not something we're just going to go search in our generic bulk text field. This is something where we're going to kick this over to a separate system where we just do a find all docs where is Java equals true. So you can get a much more efficient search out of that. That's not a cheat. That's a valid use. That's a valid way to solve a problem of I need common terms, but they're also screwing up my regular search. Right, recognizing when it's a special case, sending people. Yes, static page is a joke. You may not, you want dynamic data, but that dynamic data doesn't have to come from a complex ranking algorithm where every document scores 1. It can come from a generic, just give me all documents sorted. So, hope that helps. Cool.
Okay. All right. Next one.
From JDK9, Java is going to choose G1C, GC, what? Where are you going? All right, fine. G1 GC as default. What do you think about that? Does Solar plan to move to G1 GC as a default? What do you think about pros and cons of using Solar with CMS and G1? I try to think about it as little as possible. So I don't believe Solar has any hard-coded. So for people who aren't up on the latest greatest Solar, around Solar 5.0-ish, I think we stopped shipping as a WAR. We started becoming a standalone server. If you look under the covers, there's still a WAR, and we still run on Jetty, but we have an approved way of running Solar, which is a script, bin/Solar. I don't believe bin/Solar hard-codes any assumptions about even what JDK you're running, let alone what garbage collector you run, because we want to run on both things like IBM and OpenJDK and Oracle JDK. So I don't believe we hard code. I think your platform default is going to be your default unless there's a config file where you can put command line options for the JVM if you want. So if you really want to use one or the other, you can. I know that people who are smarter than me have said that G1 is bad for a variety of reasons, but they also said that like 4 years ago, and it's not like no one's been working on G1 since then. So I don't know off the top of my head if G1 is good or bad. I certainly don't have any pros or cons that I can argue for or against. As with everything GC related, I will tell you, you should test, and then you should go talk to Eric Erickson. And if Eric Erickson is busy, you should pay Lucidworks so that you could talk to Eric Erickson. But yeah, I don't personally have any opinions on this, and I think you can use whatever you want, but you should absolutely test it. Do you guys know more than me that is it definitively better to use one or the other?
I don't know about that, but when bin Solar was introduced, we do have a default GC parameters shipped with Solar, the ones that Sean has found to be good.
But it doesn't force the.
No, it doesn't force you.
Right.
You can
so
definitely change
if
that.
If you turn on G1, there are some options I think that'll kick in, but those options are ignored if you haven't turned on G1. And likewise, if your platform default is CMS.
Yeah, it uses CMS by default.
But that's because that's what we don't have anywhere in our parameters use CMS. We do. Really?
Yeah. We do, yeah.
Oh, all right, I'm wrong. It was bound to happen. I didn't realize that. I thought we had options that when CMS got picked, those options would tune it. But if you just change the
No. It goes with CMS because if you do the platform default and you get the serial, it's garbage, and so you just need to have CMS.
No, but we do have dash server, right? So I don't think we actually say use CMS. I think we say dash server.
We definitely say use CMS, and dash server is worthless for picking the garbage collector. It depends on the platform.
All right. Well, if all three of you agree, then I'm wrong.
We definitely use
if two of you
CMS.
agree, I would fight you on it.
There's been like Lucene recommendations not to use G1 because in some of the unit tests we found that it could crash and corrupt the index. But CMS has also crashed and corrupted the index. Sorry? Right. Yeah. So I mean, it depends on like
what Ram was saying. Sorry, what Ram was saying is that the tests that were crashing were up until a certain JVM version, which we've now passed.
So deciding that it's fine is probably an opinion because I'm gonna guess there's still some people that don't think it's fine. But my point is CMS also could crash and corrupt the index. It seemed less likely in some of our random testing. Lots of other things, lots of other bugs can cause index corruption. So for me, that was never really a reason not to use it. It's definitely what they're focusing on the most now, so it's obviously going to get better. Most of those crashes are going to be fixed. In my opinion, like at Cloudera, what we found is if you need a heap size that's like 60 gigabytes, 100 gigabytes, it's pretty much the best option. If you tune G1 really well, then it can actually deal with heap sizes that big, whereas CMS will just break down. But CMS is so much more solid and well tested and works so great for like heaps of 30 gigabytes and less that I'm going to imagine we're going to default to it for a while and just like recommend people who need to go to larger heaps switch. Except, we're trying to go to doc values and things that don't require such large heaps. So all of that together means I think we'll probably would do CMS for a while. It really just depends who brings up trying to change the default though. But we have tons of customers using G1 and haven't really had any issues.
Also, Sean's blog post about JVM tuning on Solar's wiki actually says that his performance benchmarking says G1's performed better on Java 8.
Right.
So he's
well, that's why I say there's mixed opinions on.
Yeah, he has some performance benchmarking numbers on there, so he's kind of supporting it with that. So yeah.
Yep. Yeah, the comment being that the Lucene website specifically says don't use G1, and that's because of Mark's comments. So, we had tests that were crashing pretty badly.
It's like one guy decided to make that warning that harsh.
Yes.
It's not like necessarily representative of everybody.
Right. Community-driven code is it's a wonderful thing, and sometimes it means that there are strong opinions that win.
I think before
doesn't mean they're right. It just means they won.
I was going to give some anecdotal evidence. We have a fleet of like 5,000 solar processes running, and when we switched to G1 from CMS, we saw a substantial reduction in the number of GCs that were over 15 seconds, causing solar to go into recovery, like by order of magnitude across that fleet on a daily basis.
Were any of them smoking?
What?
Were any of them like on fire?
No.
That's a pretty good. Then I'm sold.
We've been running it for a year like that, and we don't have any crashing
No
issues.
data loss?
No, not that I know.
Not that. I started with on fire, and then I figured if you.
No, but it was a serious problem using CMS, especially under like large ingest load, where you have like kind of lots of GC pressure from ingest. G1 is really helpful, and almost all of our like VMs are running with 6 gig heap.
Can I ask you a
really
favor?
Small.
Can you open a Jira and put all that in a Jira?
All right.
Because that would be awesome. No, seriously, anecdotal information like that, even when it's not like a reproducible benchmark, it's like, hey, I can't tell you what we're doing, but this is what we observed in our tuning and performance. That's still better than what we have now, which is, nothing. 4 people saying this is what I tried and this is how well it worked is great.
So and that's with no tuning at all.
Yeah.
G1.
Well,
it's
right, but just
use G1.
Tuning
GC,
meaning you set G1. That's tuning.
No,
if you could file that Jira and give us that info, I'd really appreciate it.
Okay.
Should we do another one?
Yeah.
All right.
Time for another audience question. And I think Keith was standing up there for a long time.
Right, yeah. I'm going to be honest. I know the answer to this one, and I know at least Shalin knows the answer to this. But I'm going to try to stump you.
Okay. Bring it.
So my question is this. Say you have a schema with a static field without doc values enabled for that field.
Wait, what do you mean a static field?
Just statically, not a dynamic field.
Oh, okay, sure.
Defined in your schema without doc values.
Okay.
You index 5 documents, same value for this field. You commit and everything, and then you change your schema so that same field now has doc values enabled.
Yeah.
And then you index 5 more documents, again with the same value, so now you have 10 documents, and you optimize your index.
Right.
Now you try to facet on that field.
Right.
What's the count going to be?
Undefined. The count is undefined.
Well, I told
because
you
you did not start over and re-index after you changed your schema. No, don't do that.
There is a true answer, though.
No. I mean, I'm sure there's another answer, but I'm saying the official answer is that is undefined behavior. Like, we do not document what will happen in that case, nor do I recommend or condone it.
My follow-up question is, why are you allowed to do something like that?
Yeah. So why are you allowed to? Honestly, there's a lot of places in solar where you can shoot yourself in the foot. That is one of them. And the reason why is because it's really hard to, I'm gonna say it, gun control is hard. Like, trying to make solar usable and prevent you from any situation where you shoot yourself in the foot is really hard, because it'd be very easy to stop you from doing something that's totally safe. It's very hard to stop you from just doing the things that are bad ideas. So that's why you can, that's why you can physically edit the schema and do anything you want without actually blowing away the index first. That doesn't mean you should. I would actually just because I know that you're actually trying to stump me now, I would like to go back and try to actually think through your question. 5 documents, you index them. They're indexed, right? They're not just stored, they're indexed?
They're indexed, yeah.
The field
stored.
is indexed, same
Indexed,
value
yeah.
in all 5 documents. Then you change the schema to add doc values. And then you said you optimized?
And then you optimize, so you have 1 segment now.
So you have 1 segment, and the faceting, and then at that point you want to facet on that field. The faceting field,
assuming you're using normal doc value faceting, you're not using
sure. Right. So at that point, the faceting algorithm it expects there to be doc values, and it's going to try and count the number of terms. The theoretical correct answer being 1, right? That's what it should be. Faceting. Wait. You're faceting on this field, and the theoretical value should be there's 1 term and a count of 10, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're expecting. Okay.
Exactly.
So let me think through. At the moment that you optimize, it's going to try and get doc values from the first segment, and they're not going to be there. I want to say that there's going to be 1 term, and the count's going to be 6.
Why 6?
I don't know. I'm thinking that through. Why 6? 5? No. I was thinking it would get confused. No. I don't know, actually.
Where do I collect my money?
Yeah. No, it's either. Yeah, I don't know what that answer is going to be. Shalin, what is the answer? He says you know.
42.
Not 42.
42.
What?
No. I think it's gonna be 5. Yeah.
Yeah, it is 5. Okay, I was either 5 or 0 because it just wiped everything out on the merge. I wasn't sure which
6
one.
Instead.
Yeah. What ends up happening is
No, 6 was the comedic effect answer.
why did you think it was going to be 6?
No, I didn't think it was going to be 6. I was stalling. 6 was the stall while I tried to figure out whether it was 5 or 0. So it will preserve. 0 isn't a funny answer. 6 is a funny answer. 42 is predictable. 6 is whoa, wait, what? What did I miss? Where did 6 come from? I don't want to be right. I want to be funny. Okay. So we have our answer. Good job. We'll talk to you later.
Eric, we're done with that blog post.
No, Eric, move on.
Okay. Well,
And yet you're not at the mic. Yeah. So what Eric Erickson said was what I said 5 minutes ago, which is don't do that. The behavior is undefined. Please don't do that. For those who couldn't hear him, because he thinks he projects, but he doesn't.
Yeah, we have run into very, very funny situations with things like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, what Eric Erickson's pointing out is that this is actually kind of a much worse situation than some of the other options you could turn on and off in Schema. This can really break things in very terrible ways.
And you cannot roll back. That's the biggest problem with
And you're very familiar with this, so you should file this JIRA and fix it, right?
I should probably do that.
Yeah, okay, so this is on Shallon's plate. Good. All right, we can move on.
Okay.
He'll take care of it.
Yep. One more audience question. This actually probably has to be our last question.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So,
running out of time.
Sure. So we are interested in returning to our customers the fields that match on a query. We have a mix of text and non-text, right? Strings, integers, all that kind of basic stuff. So we can use highlighting to get the matches back on text fields, but how do we get the matches back on non-text fields? Right, we're interested in like, hey, this field matched on this document, this field matched on this document.
Oh, and okay, sorry, I thought there was more.
That's it.
Okay.
Yep.
So since you're here and it's not a slide, I can ask you this. Like, how many fields are we talking about that you're interested in? What are you querying on? How complex?
They're pretty straightforward queries. They're normally 1 or 2 terms.
But how many fields?
Oh, a dozen.
Okay. Trying to decide.
Like
if
we
I
tried
even
debug, and debug was too slow for us. It like doubled the query time.
Yeah. Debug doubled your query time? That's surprising. How many results are you returning in one go?
I mean, somewhere between 50 and 1 million.
No, I mean on a page.
10, 100, normally 100.
Normally 100. Okay, all right. Yeah, all right.
Between 50 and 1 million.
Give me a freaking heart attack.
I wasn't sure what you're asking.
I was like, XY, who can spot the X?
No, almost always 100. So.
Yeah, okay. All right, let me rethink about this question. Okay, so if it's only a handful of fields, there is an interesting trick that's worth testing out because it'll probably be better than debug. It's particularly valid. It's particularly handy when you are not letting. Sorry, let me back up. If your query structure is very predictable and you always know the same 4 fields are going to be queried, and it's very predictable, and you're not letting your downstream client pass you in arbitrary Lucene syntax with arbitrary field names, one thing you can do is you can actually play around with doc transformers that themselves execute functions, which are queries, right? So you can have, I didn't get to this slide earlier today in my talk, but it's actually in the slides at the very end after the last slide. It was like a bonus slide. I had this conversation with a guy last week. It was a sort by function, but it's kind of the same situation. If your query is like, I'm gonna search the title field, the author field, and the body field for a simple term or a couple terms, and I want to know, I want my score to be some dismax over them or some complicated relevancy function over these 3 fields. You can do that, and that can be your main score, and that can be what you sort on. But you can also have a doc transformer, which is just part of that query, right? The doc transformer can say, for every document, return me the score of the function. This is where a whiteboard's really handy. The function being query on my input term just in the title field. And another doc transformer can be the score of a query just for that word in the author field, and so on, which will help you identify when it appears in one field or the other as an independent variable, so to speak, from the actual score and the matching of everything else. And that doc transformer will only be evaluated. It's similar to debug, but it's not as expensive. But it'll, again, only be evaluated against the documents that have already matched on that page. And for, especially like highlighter, like you say, highlighter works well for text fields, especially if your query is more complicated. It's like, I'm searching for these words in a text field, but then I optionally want to match if the price is in a certain range, and you've got this complex structure, but then at the end you're like, well, was the price in that range? Like, that's where a doc transformer that's just doing that part can be helpful.
Okay, great, thanks.
Cool. All right, are we done?
Yeah, I think that's it. So
okay.
We need to
I don't know what the hell's going on
evaluate. Hi.
All right, so while our judges do their friggin' jobs and figure out who won, even though Mr. Miller wasn't even paying attention to the last question.
I already realized you had that.
All right, sorry. I don't know where you went, but apparently you didn't win. Mark Miller ruled you out already. While our judges converse, I will stall for some more time by reminding everybody that the party tonight is at the Prudential building. It starts with Sky. I don't remember what it's called. It's really high up. It's like the top frickin' floor. What is this? All right, it's the top floor. Basically, what you're gonna do is you're gonna go out those doors and you're gonna head that way, and then you're gonna make a right and you're gonna feel like you're going just to a conference room, and then suddenly you're gonna be in a mall because that's what they do here apparently. And you're going to walk through the mall, and you're going to follow some signs. There will be a bunch of people, presumably wearing the red shirts, just like they've been wearing for the last 2 days, the people who are helping to run the conference. Have your badge, because you'll need your badge to get over there. But just go that way, follow the signs. There's going to be an elevator. It's going to take you to the 180th floor or whatever it is. And that's where the party is. It doesn't technically start till 6, but I'm pretty sure I was told that basically you could just go now. And I'm hoping somebody will either give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down from the back of the room that I'm right and I'm not lying to you all. And I don't see anything, so we'll just assume I'm right. And worst case, you guys can hang out in the mall for a little bit on your way over there. Maybe walk slow. That's pretty much the best advice I got. And any second now, our judges will have made up their mind. Yeah, no, they're okay. So I'm stalling some more. All right, so I've got a copy of Taming Text. I'm gonna quiz you guys. I don't know what to quiz you guys on. Balls. Oh, okay, all right. Where was the first version of Lucene released? Oh, wait. Oh, no, damn it. You already have this, don't you? Yeah, all right. Shh. If you don't want the book, don't answer the question. You're ruining it. Now I have to think of another one. Oh, all right. I got one. There is yeah. So Lucene beget Nutch. What did Nutch beget? Hadoop. Come grab a book. Woo! All right. That's right. Hadoop started as a way to make the file system for Nutch, which was the crawler for Lucene, distributable. Are you guys done?
Yeah, we're ready.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Because the last time I asked I don't know. The last time I asked this question, you pretended you didn't hear me. So.
When?
Just a minute ago, you looked over at me and then turned your head in shame.
We weren't ready. Now we're ready.
All right.
All right. So top. Should I go third to first or?
You're in
first
charge.
To third? I don't want to. All right. So anyway, first prize goes to the first question actually on the segment caches, which I think was Senthiel's question.
Yay!
Yeah.
Somebody who emailed it in.
Yes.
Yeah,
There,
all right.
there he is.
Somebody who emailed it in.
So,
awesome.
so we don't give the prizes. We're
Oh
not
yeah,
gonna
sorry.
hand you the prizes
I don't carry
right
cash.
now.
I'll email it to you.
Yeah. We
We'll
email you
it
to
to
give
you.
to
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Should've
So that
said
was first
part.
place. Woo!
Yeah.
That was
All
the
right.
one, the very first question.
That was the very
right?
first
Second
question. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I feel cheated.
Do we want to say why he won? Or?
Sure.
If you want to, go ahead. Yeah.
So the reason he won is because you completely missed the fact that he's talking about the field caches, which are per segment. But you were completely going about query result cache and the other caches.
You're doing whatever you're doing.
No, but my point was if you don't reopen the searcher, then it doesn't matter. It's only when you open the searcher. I specifically said if you don't open the searcher.
He says soft commit, right?
Right, and I said only if you don't open the searcher. All right, fucking, well,
Yeah.
whatever.
All right.
Anyway, second place.
That's why deciding took so long.
Yeah, second place.
All right. It was Keith's question on the doc value fields.
Keith?
Yeah.
Keith. Oh, Keith.
Nice
All
job.
right, so
Thank
talk
you.
to us in a few minutes.
And
All right,
then,
and third place.
The third place was the question on how many fields we can have.
Oh, another audience question.
Oh yeah, that was your. And so I need your name because I didn't. So when we're done,
Awesome.
come up and give me your name and email so we can get you that.
All right. I can. Yeah, I can. First prize was a rip, but I can go with number 2 and number 3. All right. Anyway.
All right. Thank you,
Thank you guys for
everybody.
coming. That was Stump the Chump. Like I said, out the doors, turn right, go through the mall, stop at Apple Annie's. Apple Annie's? Annie's. The pretzel place.
Annie's, yeah.
Grab a pretzel, head to the party. We'll see y'all later. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Our feeling is you missed number 1 and we